You know, they get served the little menus, and they get keep it, a little takeaway. We should have put our Instagram handles on here.
I know. What is this, YouTube?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't do YouTube anymore. I've been working, I do this is my life now. Okay, hello, welcome. So today we wanted to just kind of talk about this really fun event that we just did, which is like a coffee pastry omakase style tasting that we did that had like a whole entire menu. And I wanted to introduce Jane here, who did all of these beautiful pastries.
My name is Jane. I go by Cake Barn on Instagram, but I'm a hobby baker. Like, I just do this for fun on the side. I've been baking for a long time at home, also part-time at some bakeries. So I'm definitely not a professional. I just love baking, and I try to do it as much as I can while holding down a full-time job. So this is definitely a hobby of mine.
One thing that I've really been thinking about is kind of creating a space and an environment for people to just have like a discussion about, really great coffees, but honestly like really great flavor and tasting experiences. And that's what we were looking to do. When I think about coffee shops and coffee experiences for a lot of people, it's like you get a nice cup of coffee and you get like a pastry with it, like a croissant or something like that. And I wanted to see, is there a way to make like a super elevated version of that? So that's what we kind of came up with.
When Brian approached me with this idea, he wanted to see how people who are average, just lay people drinking coffee, not necessarily connoisseurs of coffee, would react to specialty coffee. So with that concept in mind, we thought it'd be cool to go from something that's familiar, like a cortado and a coffee cake, and move towards something that is a little bit more elevated, unfamiliar, and specialty, not just in the coffee, but also with the food that we were pairing with it.
Basically, we're in a house right now. And we had 3 seats. There were a lot of people who were very new to just drinking specialty coffee, honestly coffee in general. And we gave them like a very, I would say, fun, intimate, curated session where the camera is, that's where we had people sit. And then I'm over here making some coffee here. And then we had these pastries already kind of like pre-done. And then we served
funneled them out
we funneled
one course at a time. So it was 4 courses total. So people sat in front of us, we were here, and we served a coffee with a plate, one at a time.
We had a few different testing sessions, not tasting sessions, but testing sessions, where we went and tried a bunch of different coffees and flavors together. The
most apparent theme that we found is with food, the flavors come out a lot more prominently. With a lot of these coffees, there's a list of notes, but it's for someone like me who is not well versed in coffee, it's hard for me to pick out those notes. So let's say you have a chocolate note. If you were to eat actual chocolate and then taste the coffee, the chocolate itself would kind of mask that note. And so with that in mind, we kind of tried to come up with flavor pairings that are complementary, but not exactly
clashing.
Right, yeah.
As you go lighter on the coffees and you bring in more like fruits and acidity, you actually want to match that with something maybe more like savory or salty or more like texture based. We had this nicely put together menu. The theme was dusk to dawn.
Yes, and dark to light.
Working people from, I would say, their first experiences going to coffee shops to maybe being a complete nerd and they're drinking some crazy coffees. The first thing that we did was just a very standard oat cortado. And I used this Ruby Creamery blend, which is from a Wisconsin roaster, Ruby. And it's just a very approachable espresso. Steamed some oat milk, poured some okay latte art. This is what is comfortable, is accessible, is safe from the coffee side.
Yeah, and for the pastry or the baked good, what I went with was coffee cake. That's something that you could find at a cafe. It's very familiar. I think everyone has had a coffee cake at a diner or at a cafe at some point. But I wanted to put a twist on it where it's a bit Vietnamese coffee inspired, where the cream is a condensed milk cream and the cake has coffee in it. Some people don't know this, but coffee cake traditionally doesn't have coffee in it. It's called coffee cake just because it's eaten with coffee. But in this one, I actually put coffee in it in addition to black sesame. So it's kind of an Asian twist on a traditional American coffee cake.
This pastry paired really well with that cortado because the cortado, I try to like, I'm not the best at milk steaming, but I try to like steam it a little bit more so you get that more textural foam experience that then pairs really well with like this cream and then also the cake. So eating them both side by side actually doesn't really mask too many flavors, or it honestly like bumped up a lot of that chocolatiness and sweetness. And it was just very, very approachable. Like, you know, no acidity, no fruitiness, just like a really, really safe experience for that first one. Then we get crazy. And now we go down the line. You've probably seen this on the YouTubes, is I did an iced Americano. So how this works is, you know, I started with a dark coffee. Now I'm gonna go a little bit lighter. And I went with my friend Kyle's coffee, September coffee. Hi Kyle, if you're watching this. The Marmalade Cola, which is a Guatemalan coffee. So it's pretty hot right now in the Bay Area. So all this is it's the, you know, iced Americano with the ice, and then you steam it and you get that beautiful foam on the top. And I served that to people and people are like, whoa, what is this?
A beer foam coffee.
Yeah.
Or beer coffee, I guess. I think the Americano has a lot of cool textural components. It just feels very crisp to drink. And so with the pastry, I wanted to pair it with something that is equally as exciting and interesting texturally. So I went with a chocolate millefeuille, which is a French dessert that is layered with puff pastry and cream. So the notes in that I read were cola, toffee, tangerine, plum. What I found when we were taste testing these coffees was that I personally had a hard time picking out the fruit. Or the fruity notes, and so I did not want to mask the fruity notes with something fruity, so I went with chocolate. And I think that kind of pairs well with something lighter, because we're kind of more venturing towards the lighter side now. As
people got over the foam, they're getting into that actual like iced Americano area, and because they've already been eating the pastry, you know, sip, eat, you get through the foam, you then get to that liquid, and that liquid below the foam has a little bit of acidity there, and it has that nice like tangerine plum note. People were just like, oh, whoa, this is a little bit interesting. Like, I get this really interesting texture, and there's some acidity in it, and it doesn't, you know, punch people in the face with like, oh, this is sour. So the pastry is also paired with a candied mint and a mint glaze. So I remember someone saying after they ate the candy and mint, the fruity notes were brought out in the Americano. So I thought that was interesting. Now we go into crazy territory, scary territory of black coffee. Oh no. The rest of them are just pour overs. So this coffee from Sage is this Burundi coffee. Notes of red tea, currant, clove. It's a washed coffee, it's light. And you know, I pulled out a little bit of theatrics here. So I basically had like a pour over setup here, and I just made a pour over for people, and it's like pretty fun, right? If you've never seen people make pour over, let's put it out there and let people actually see that. And I think this paired so well with the pastry. Yeah, so this one was a goat milk panna cotta with blueberry compote, and with the red fruit notes in the coffee, we thought it would be nice to have blue fruit, which is literally blueberries, and with the kind of like sweet and savory components that we're going for, goat milk really brings out savoriness. It's a lot more pungent than, you know, like a cow's milk or heavy cream that is typical in panna cotta, and so with the blueberry and goat milk, that went really well with this light roast where we wanted to bring out the tea, like lighter fruity components. I've actually never had like a goat milk panna cotta before. I definitely found that there was like that sharpness, like there's a bite to how this is presented. And the interesting thing is, like, with a very light roast pour over, I think that sharpness actually didn't like clash too much. It actually like helped mask some of the acidity in this coffee, but bring up sweetness. And some people just like down the entire thing. I like turned around and I'm making this other stuff, getting ready for the next course, and just it's gone. And I'm like, whoa. You know, depending on what order you drink and eat this in, and depending on which components of this panna cotta you actually eat, it brings up or masks very different parts of the flavors from here. And I think like a lot of people just got a lot of sweetness from it. It's like tea. They basically were like, oh yeah, it tastes like tea.
Looks like tea too.
The final course we did, which I'm like patting myself on the back for this one, is went with a very fun coffee. Many of you guys will know it. This is Manhattan Coffee Roasters Letty Bermudez. Letty from our good friend Diego Bermudez. Haribo Peach, Milky Oolong, Mango. It's crazy that there can be a coffee that is so potent and fruity and floral. And we thought a really great way to present this is doing deconstructed notes.
For some context, when we were doing these tasting sessions, when I smelled this coffee, I was like, wow, it actually smells like peach rings. And it tastes like a mango tea that you would get from, you know,
like a boba
shop. Yeah. I mean, like minus the sugar and the boba. But it was very, like these three notes, the peach, milky oolong, and mango, were super apparent to me. And so why not take those apart and see how the flavor of this coffee changes as you eat the actual thing. So we, it's not out here right now, but we actually served it with a peach ring, like a little peach ring, a piece of dried mango, and a bit of oolong-infused cream. And so we had the guests taste the cream, taste the coffee, the mango, etc., and see how the coffee changes and your experience with this changes as you trick your palate, in a sense, with these notes. The final item was a peach oolong jelly. So I took the two notes, peach and oolong, made that into a refreshing jelly. It's a nice finish after all this food and cream and butter and coffee. And so, yeah, we also tried a similar jelly in our tasting and found that because the texture is so light and doesn't hang on your tongue, it doesn't distract from anything. So unlike a cream or a panna cotta or anything buttery, that kind of lingers on your palate, whereas the jelly is a nice finish because it really doesn't distract from the beauty of this coffee.
It was just so cool to see, because you know we had like the trays with all of these notes deconstructed, and it was just like flavor tuning. I don't know if that's a good word. Depending on what order you eat each of the little like deconstructed notes, how does that change the flavors? And we basically were like, don't eat the peach ring first, because the peach ring would just like coat your tongue and then everything's over.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to taste coffee. But we had people taste like the oolong cream first. The oolong was interesting because oolong cream actually bumped up the tea-like milky oolong part of Letty here. Everything that you eat would like seem to bump up some of the other ones, with maybe the exception of the peach ring, but I think we found like a super sweet peach ring.
Yeah, I would like a food scientist to explain this to us. Like, I'm sure there is explanation and like a rhyme and reason behind it, but we were kind of just playing around and seeing what worked for us. And so, yeah.
It was a lot of work to get it done, but it was so awesome to be able to see like normal people appreciate coffee.
Yeah, I could speak on behalf of the normal people.
Yeah.
I am a normal person in the world of coffee. Like, I am that person who orders a pumpkin spice latte and a pumpkin loaf at Starbucks. So anyway, I think for me it was a cool experience to be able to contribute to this venture to elevate the perception of coffee and bring specialty coffee to people who don't have access or knowledge about it, like me. So yeah, it was a super rewarding experience that I think we could do a lot with.
It's more of like just having someone actually like talk to you about coffee and like serving you and just saying like, look, this is what this is. It's gonna be different than maybe what you've had before. This is really that physical form of some of these flavors that we get in coffee. And it's so cool to see like, you know, play around with people's like perception of flavors and the textures that they get on their tongue. And you know, this could not have been done without these amazing pastries done by Jane here. So,
Thanks.
You know, really want to thank her for spending the time and, you know, effort and all of this to make this happen. So we really hope you guys like stay tuned with this type of effort and, you know, follow at Cake Barn
Yeah.
on Instagram. We want to do more of them. I just don't know level of sustainability for this, but whatever, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. That's a conversation for another time.
Yeah, maybe that'll be another video.
I will say though, the coffee actually makes the pastries taste better too. Like, so, you know, these pastries are being helped by the coffee and vice versa. So I think it's a very complementary pairing.
But I'm definitely interested to see, like, you know, maybe I could turn this into something else. I'm really curious about you guys. Like, yeah, if you guys want to fly to here and taste this, let me know. Like, we'll welcome you. But otherwise, you know, thank you guys so much for spending the time to watch this video. And I want to thank Jane here for doing this.
Yeah,
and,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, all right, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Cool.